What's up, squad? It's Brandon from the band Tucson. Thank you so much for joining me today, and welcome to a special New Year's Eve edition. So, first and foremost, I just want to thank everybody for watching, leaving comments, sharing the word, and helping us communicate our message of what we're trying to do with bringing insight and discernment to the world that we live in, and using this information to help empower people to make decisions based on what's best for them and how to develop in their own personal journey using geopolitical insight in such ways. So, as far as going into the new year, I thought it would be most useful to do a round robin of what's going on in the current geopolitical landscape and some things that I'll be looking out for in 2025. So, starting left to right, like we're reading the book, let's go ahead and start with North America. So, obviously, in North America, we're going to have the election of the new president, Donald Trump, taking place in January. And obviously, he set a tone coming in, talking about buying territories, purchasing Greenland, taking over Panama again, annexing Canada, etc., etc., etc. This is all hyperbole to some degree, but it speaks to the loftiness of his presidency and what he's trying to accomplish. Of course, I do not think his second presidency will be as I would say revolutionary as his first one. Just looking at his appointments, I really thought his first presidency had some really heavy hitters in his cabinet, but that also came along with some challenges. And I think if he gets a little bit too extreme on the rails, the legislators in Congress will slow him down. So it's really going to be more about balancing the desire of the American people that elected him with the neighbors in North America. Of course, bettering relations. I remember reading an article talking about for the first time American birth rates were actually outpacing Mexican birth rates. So, for those that know, Mexico is the largest Spanish speaking country in the world, majority Spanish speaking country in the world. And of course, in the Western Hemisphere, it is the center, you can say the Hispanosphere or Hispanophone countries. Now, Mexico plays a critical role because as over 100 million people and it's a key highway for a lot of the illegal migration coming as far south as Ecuador and further away as places as far as Africa, of migrants in Asia, of migrants trying to come into America. And of course, it's that drug trade that fuels so many wars down there as well. So Mexico managing their relationship with the United States. And the United States, you can say, balancing the domestic needs of its population at home, because as a person that is very familiar with the political climate in America, Americans are not really globally focused. They get pulled in because the American administrations are globally focused and they have their strong foreign policies, alliances, and allegiances that they seek to maintain. But the average American is trying to fight inflation and buy a home. The average American administration is trying to fight wars in the Middle East and play games of cat and mouse overseas and fighting terrorism, taking down Russia, maintaining, or we would say, cordoning off China, etc., etc., etc. So the average American and the average American administration are at odds that way. So Trump is going to have to balance that in his administration, as well as relationships within the hemisphere. And seeing how well America can manage what was seen to be an ailing Europe and a rising Asia is going to be very, very important. And also the dynamics of maintaining some type of a bottle cap on the violence that is occurring in the Middle East. Going down to Central America, Central America is in chaos somewhat because of Central America, somewhat because of American influence in Central America. Of course, the United States has never really wanted a strong power within Central America or a strong base of operation for a foreign power in other parts of the world in Central America. So countries such as Nicaragua and Cuba has usually been at odds just read an article about how Guatemala is seeking to work with the United States for migration, as well as Mexico looking to halt because Trump's going to come down very anti illegal migration, at least openly. So it's going to be interesting to watch those relationships balance themselves out. But as far as Caribbean islands, I just saw Trinidad and Tobago. They're going through gang warfare because of gang members are getting killed, and these islands are so not all of them. Of course, you have your more stable ones such as the Bahamas, your Caymans, in some degree the Barbados, but when you have countries such as Haiti, the second, the most poverty-stricken country in the Western Hemisphere below, while Haiti also have the largest Caribbean population, the largest, most populous Caribbean island, like you have to really understand, like it really is a powder keg down there, and it's right next to a relatively closer ally of America, the Dominican Republic. So you have these relationships, but I don't see anything major coming from the Caribbean. But you do hope for greater stability in that region, and hopefully greater integration. I always say Haiti, one of its biggest problems is less than 5% of the population can speak English. So you have all these people on an island where, or half an island, where there aren't that many opportunities. The land doesn't provide sufficient amount of opportunities, and yet they can't even access the biggest market on their doorstep because of language barriers. Like, moving down to South America, of course, every year you would like to see a country like Brazil really shine. As you guys know, I can constantly gripe about the underperformance of Brazil and Nigeria. These are two sleeping giants that like to sleep for some reason. Brazil dominates South America, as you know, taking up half the population, half the geography. Of course, most of it is rainforest, like most of Australia is outback. But regardless, Brazil is a massive country with nearly unlimited potential. So I just saw a map overlay of Brazil over Europe, and it goes from North Africa all the way up to the Arctic. So it's a massive country. Argentina is making some free market reforms. Who knows how, if that country is it really a cultural awakening, or and this is a sign of new things to come, especially as Europeans that don't like how things are being run in Europe seek refuge in places like Uruguay, Paraguay, and Argentina, parts of the Southern Cone. But maybe it is a new awakening for industry within Argentina, or it could just be a fad driven by a very charismatic leader and President Javier Milei. So, how Argentina evolves in Brazil, always Brazil and South America, and Brazilian leadership is always going to be interesting. One of the reasons South America, you can say, has not been the strongest performer is because its big players are not major players on the global stage and building trades and alliances, etc. I constantly harp on how South America and Africa should have greater relations because the compatibility is there. But as was once quoted before, countries such as Brazil, it is a geographic giant but political dwarf. Going on to Europe. So, of course, the key thing with Europe is the management of Russia. And what's Russia going to do next? Like, does Russia get more aggressive, especially as the doors start to close in on them? They just lost Syria. The war in Ukraine continuously builds on. Ukraine is character, as I said, when they come out of this. And as the Hungarian leader Viktor Orban says, like when Ukraine come out of it, their identity is going to be anti-Russian in its essence. It's going to be a military state, and between Poland and Ukraine, it pretty much bifurcates Russia from the rest of Europe geographically. So, with the exception, you can say, of the Scandinavian countries in the north, but primarily the open plain that has been a conduit for trade across Central Europe and armies, that conduit of trade will be cut off with Poland and Ukraine, both very staunch countries that are. Poland is now, and Ukraine will be after this war, just as much as North Korea and South Korea are at odds with each other. You'll see that same animosity between the Ukrainians and Russia. So, seeing how Russia responds and seeing the new Europe and how the Europe manage their aging population as well as economic decline, So far, it looks as though their only way of doing so is to hug closer to the United States of America, and letting it, the saying goes, as far as European networking, as far as NATO, was keep Russia out, keep Germany down, keep America in, and that's exactly what happened. America has more influence than ever on European affairs right now. So seeing how Europe managed this in the next year is going to be interesting. Now we have Africa and the Middle East. So the Middle East, of course, is going to be a powder keg. The reason I put this up is because I really feel as though African leadership struggles. It's certain bright spots: Cote d'Ivoire, Kenya, South Africa, President Kagame, and Rwanda is trying to carve out something, but in Ethiopia as well. But each one of those have an extremely bad downside on it. Whether you talk about President Kagame being one of the longest serving leaders in the world, to rumors of the work that militias are doing on his behalf in the Congo and the strife and chaos that's causing. Same thing with Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed in Ethiopia, and some would say some draconian methods as Ethiopia seeks to gain um, consensus at home and suppress federal autonomous units or areas to bring them to heel under the federal authority, as well as a country, the most populous landlocked country in the world, seeking sea access, whether that's through Djibouti and most likely through Somaliland as well. Somaliland being a tract of land at the expense of their neighbor Somalia, and of course, Somalia have agreed on that. Of course, we would love to see Nigeria strive as it continues to blow up in population, 200 million people and growing. But they seem to not have everything in place yet, regardless of the industriousness of the populace. And for lack of a better phrasing, the Middle East owns Africa. Whether you're talking about what's going on in Western Sahara, whether you're talking about how that part of Africa, the Maghreb, is being split between Morocco and Algeria. What's going on with Libya as the gateway and all these energy resources being brought right out into Europe markets, but not necessarily having that trade network funneled down to benefit sub-Saharan African countries. You have the expanded Sahara Desert. You have the chaos in Libya as well, being funded by outside countries. You have, and mainly UAE, Saudi Arabia, practicing extreme influence in the MENA region, in that part of North Africa. You can say from Morocco all the way down to Somalia. Sudan is another great example of the influence that the Middle East has, those Gulf countries have on Africa. So no African country has really been able to be the master of their own fate yet. And you see these Arab countries in the Middle East, they're struggling two sides, right? One, you have an expanding Turkey that's getting stronger and stronger and stronger, making probably 2024 will be the geopolitical year of Turkey and the work they've done with bringing down the Assad regime, as well as Azerbaijan taking on the Nagorno-Karabakh region. Turkey seems to can do no wrong right now geopolitically, as Erdogan seems to be the strongest he's ever been. So as he's aging, of course, you're going to look at who's succession and who's going to inherit his leadership role, and when they continue to have a vision for the region. Moving on to there, of course, I always talk about Central Asia. What powers can influence that? As I talk about some of the great powers in the region, CRIP 6, China, Russia, India, Iran, Pakistan, and Turkey, all these countries surround the Central Asia. So being able to really see how this region evolve, of course, Uzbekistan is considered by some to be an economic tiger at this point of view. So watching their evolution, they are, you can say, with the exclusion of Afghanistan, the demographic centers of the Turkestan states in Central Asia. You have South Asia, Pakistan trying to manage what's going on in Afghanistan, and just trying to keep a cap on that what you could say, I don't want to say breadbasket, but you have this complete salad bowl, or you can different groups seeking secession and maintaining some type of peace in a country that is a nuclear power, smothered in between a terrorist state of Afghanistan, what they would consider, and another terrorist, what they would consider a terrorist state in India. who will subsidize Taliban in Afghanistan. So you also have India rising. So it's going to be the Hindu tiger is going to be famous throughout the world. I think a lot of people in the Anglosphere understand how Indians have, once they get outside that country, India is a relatively small country, roughly the size, a third the size of the United States, with four times as many people. And this creates a highly industrious, entrepreneurial populace with tight community networks. And as Indians, for numerous reasons, some would say lack of centrality, but as they come to get things together and get the wheels turning, that country is evolving into a strong player. I always say the 21st century is going to be a century of the trilateral powers of United States, India, and China, and them managing each other. With India with no real natural check on its power, it's only competing with itself at this stage of the game. You have moving on. You have Southeast Asia, the continual fight for Southeast Asia as it's breaking out, and it's going to primarily be at this point between China and the United States. And you can lump Australia in there, even though you have Australia have a strong allegiance to the West, but it seems as though China is having stronger influence on continental countries such as Cambodia, Laos, Myanmar, and the United States having more greater influence in countries such as Japan. Well, Japan not being Southeast Asia, you can lump Taiwan if you want to, but the Philippines primarily, and America also has been building great ties with Indonesia. Of course, Vietnam is always the I one eye. Nobody likes Vietnam. Vietnam doesn't like anybody. I've said previously how Vietnam actual natural allies will be Japan, Russia, India, and France, but that alliance as a has never really come to fruition in the modern era because America has done a great job of divide and conquer strategy. So Southeast Asia is going to be interesting as China seeks greater access through sea to resources. They need that security. Um, Looking at China rise in their current strategy right now. And it seems they're quite tempered in what's going on globally. You have to wonder how long is that going to last? Is that the China model? Does China not care if the world around them falls apart? If the Middle Kingdom stays the Middle Kingdom and maintains its sovereignty, or does China steps in and say, "Hey, enough killing in Gaza, enough killing in Ukraine, just enough," and really try to put a different branding or more aggressive branding on their style of leadership? Or are they going to continue to fly on the radar, go to places where America isn't as heavy, such as places as Africa, and try to slowly build up influence in those places and just really pick their battles and maintain the status quo? So those are just a couple things as I went around the world. I think I knocked everybody out. If I missed anybody, let me know. Always, and of course, you always have the Pacific Islands and whatnot and the strategic roles that they're playing, but they're always going to be a proxy for a stronger power afar. So let me know if there's any place I miss. If there's a place that you're interested in, a story that you're looking out for in 2025 that I haven't mentioned, please comment below. Love to hear your thoughts. Like, share, subscribe if you enjoy the content. Until next time, take care. Oh, by the way, before I forget, so make sure if you haven't checked out our products, this is one of our products. This is Africa the Continent. So, of course, every one of our puzzle boxes, there are geopolitics in the box right here. Every one of our puzzle boxes, if you want to know the world or understand the world from a geopolitical point of view, I suggest you get one of those. We do offer them at the Bantu Sun store on Amazon. It's going to include a puzzle, references to natural resources, cultural, historic icons. It's going to have a guidebook as well to provide information of the various regions and areas of the world. We have 5 out right now. We have Africa, the continent. We have Europe, the conscious, United States, the exceptional edition, Latin America and the Caribbean, the New World, and of course, Asia, the inevitable. Speaking to the various the cultural aspects of these various parts of the world. And of course, we're currently working on one for the southern lands of Australia and Oceania. So we're hoping to get that one out as well. We'll also be coming out with some more products in 2025. So be on the lookout for the store with those. We'll keep you posted. But we will be coming out with the war briefs, giving historical perspective to various conflicts in history and how they panned out, and the who to knows and the what to knows in relationship to those. So once again, thank you for your time. Really appreciate you for this year and looking forward to great times and great insight, understanding, and learnings in 2025 to further help empower us to be the best version of ourselves we can be in this world. So until next time, take care. Bad to up.